What's happening, YouTube? What's up? This video gonna be about Robert De Niro be passed on and the role of Jim Garrison for JFK for Kevin Costner and my thoughts with Oliver Stone. I know De Niro would have been an interesting choice. Now, De Niro and Costner's paths did cross in The Untouchables, which was an interesting movie about Al Capone. And then, of course, he had Sean Connery. And this is what got Kevin Costner on that run he had from, what was it, 87 to about 93, where he was one of the best film actors going at the time. He could almost do no wrong. This cat had them long epic movies, and he was in his peak in his prime. He was in his heyday. And of course, you have Rob De Niro, who's one of the greatest actors ever, in my top 2 to 3 ever. I would debate, especially his old stuff. I understand, some of the stuff after particulars, but his old stuff. But anyway, let's just get into this. Could he have pulled this role off as Jim Garrison, and how Costner was? Kevin Costner always came across like this 1960s, early 70s type of newscaster with the glasses. Like you could almost see like a Walter Cronkite type of inquisitive type of vibe. And the Garrison role was real interesting, how he's leading as a detective and so on and so forth. And then it had a lot of conspiracy theory. It's funny, Joe Pesci was in there with that. Remember, he had that little Richard Jerry Lee Lewis Pompadour thing, that thing on his head, which was hilarious. And I was in on that thing because it was 30 years after the Kennedy situation in Dallas. So I watched the film. I don't know what I got out of it in totality, but I watched it. I was back when Bill Clinton was in the White House. It was crazy time. But anyway, seeing Rob De Niro, do I think he could have pulled it off? It's kind of hard to say. The way Costner approaches that kind of, because I see more De Niro in a narrative. When you're playing a detective or you're playing a certain type of role, it's certain movies he's done where he could definitely do it. But I think Costner was like asymmetrical for this. Kind of like how I saw him in Hidden Figures. He got that vibe down with them glasses and that type of element, which that particular era I think he would have been really well for suited. But Rob De Niro, he's the kind of actor. At that time, you put him in any situation, he found a way to make it work. He found a way to study his craft, and he became the character. So it's interesting. But I think they made the right choice with Costner. I think Costner really exhibited that kind of, and that way Oliver Stone is with his movies, because Oliver Stone has a tendency to get far out there and explore different avenues, and put out different types of his own versions of reality, his own thoughts and takes. And sometimes you can look at it and you can kind of smirk it off, and then sometimes you can kind of say it's turkey crazy. So it all depends on how you look at it. But anyway, that's how I kind of looked at it. I kind of was like, you know it was kind of a situation where I was like, wow, I don't know, but he did it. I don't, it's one of those, I don't know, but he did it. When you looking at movies, you kind of pick up different vibes and different scenes. You're kind of, how you gonna approach the totality of it, the energy of it, So, but anyway, I thought that they made the right choice by going with Costner, but De Niro would have been interesting though. But anyway, let me know what you think. Rob De Niro passed over for Kevin Costner's Jim Garrison, the JFK movie, Oliver Stone. Let me know. Do you think that was the right choice? Would you like to see De Niro? Hit me up in the comments. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like. Hit that membership. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.